oh, you're not fighting this guy. You're the problem here with this whole situation and criticism of my career. I'm trying to fight the best people and wants to fight you. Of course, you're going to say yes. He walked away with tens of millions of dollars to support his family for the rest of their lives.
Netflix lost millions of dollars over Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis being cancelled. Now that the whole thing has been scrapped, it turns out doing business with Gervonta Davis was a bad business move overall. Netflix, which was primarily funding the event, burned a lot of cash on production, marketing, securing the venue, and basically all the financial related fees that came with staging this event. Now, even though millions of dollars may not be that much on Netflix's behalf, especially considering that Netflix is worth more than $470 billion, a loss is still a loss.
Jake Paul came out swinging in the aftermath of the cancellation and went straight into a live interview where he made it clear that he was done trying to make this fight work.
I know that Gervonta Davis was not going to just play to Jake Paul's rules. I still don't know exactly why this thing is falling apart, but it is falling apart bad. It is bursting at the seams. This should have never gotten started, but it did. But we are almost now exactly where we need to be in the fight, and that's it being off. Gervonta Davis is out of the fight. We should have never had that fight even on the docket, but it was happening. You knew it had potential to be a nightmare. It turned out to be exactly what we thought it was going to.
He claimed that working with Gervonta Davis was impossible and pointed to repeated delays, miscommitments, and ongoing legal distractions that he said ultimately cost both him and Netflix millions.
Given this, the search for a new Jake Paul opponent continues, with Andre Ward now being the newest name that's been added to the growing list of fighters being asked to step in and fight Jake Paul on short notice. This report comes from Mike Coppinger of Ring Magazine, who revealed that Jake Paul's team have approached Andre Ward this past weekend and inquired if he'd be interested and available as a possible replacement for Gervonta Davis, with Francis Ngannou and Nate Diaz also reportedly being given offers to step in.
The situation unfolded just days after new legal allegations were made against Davis. Allegations he has denied, adding even more turbulence to everything surrounding the event. And while the dust is still settling, Jake is not sitting still. Nate Diaz has already jumped in with an Instagram post saying he is ready to run it back, which means we might be heading straight from cancellation, chaos, into a massive revenge rematch storyline.
Tank Davis got to be the most stupidest boxer ever in the history of boxing, man. And I mean that, I mean that wholeheartedly, for real. Man, $40 million. Think about that. $40 million down the drain. So he calls himself, he's about his money, right? He's about business. Are you truly about business? Are you? Because, dude, like, why are you getting in these sort of altercations, bro? Weeks before the fight, like, come on, man. Like, this has been his MO. That's the issue that I'm having, right?
Sliding out of the legal circus and into straight talk, Tim. Bradley stepped in and called out the entire situation without holding back. He said, Tank might have just thrown away a reported $40 million MVP, came off looking like rookie promotions, and the promoter should have had a plan B. He made it clear that the people in charge needed to hear this message.
And MVP, more like RP, rookie promotions. Yeah, y'all should have had a backup plan. You should have had a backup fighter. Yup. You live and you learn. Oh, absolutely. You live and you learn. You should have had a plan B, just in case this man, Tank Davis, don't show up. Yeah. That's what you should have done. Now you're looking like idiots. I heard through the grapevine the joint wouldn't even say.
I agree with Tim on this one. You cannot build a Netflix tentpole around a single person and then act surprised when things fall apart. Bradley also reminded everyone that a person is innocent until proven guilty, but the situation still looked terrible. In my opinion, Jake was more a victim of bad timing than bad intentions. The undercard fighters ended up losing out, and the whole setup felt like a cash grab pretending to be a sporting event. We feel for the real fighters. We criticized the poor planning, and now everyone sits back with popcorn watching the chaos unfold, because boxing never stops, delivering dramatic twists we just cannot turn away from.
But this is what happens when you play the game, bruh. You played it wrong. And you got beat this time. Anyways, man, look. Feel sorry for the fighters on the undercard, the real fighters on the undercard. I feel sorry for y'all, man, for real. You know, but other than that, this is a learning experience. Jake, fake Paul, it's a learning experience. You and your team.
Just when it seemed like the post-fight fallout could not get any more intense after, Tim Bradley called the whole situation a financial demolition derby. Clarissa Shields stepped into the broadcast ready to talk about real life. She did not hold back and spoke her mind clearly. Clarissa said that Tank had always dealt with these issues and everyone involved knew what they were getting into, so no one should act surprised. Now she then delivered a powerful truth about how losing the mentor who kept everything together changed everything.
I'm not gonna say I 100% agree with what Jake said, but what I would say is that we all know Tank background with domestic violence before this fight got made. Before any of his fights get made, we already know he has, and he got some issues with this. So it's not his first, second, or even third time with something like this coming out, or whatever the case may be.
When you go from having Floyd Mayweather guiding your every move to trying to handle everything on your own life, starts hitting you with challenges that test your sanity, and honestly, Clarissa might be right, sometimes the battles outside the ring hurt more than the ones inside it. While Jake is busy writing long statements and Netflix is reviewing losses like a disappointed accountant, Clarissa stepped in and reminded everyone that this is not just boxing drama, it is life. Catching up, and we are all sitting here realizing that boxing never seems to take a break from being completely unpredictable.
Well, I was told that he wasn't even training, to be honest with you, and that he was blowing off all media obligations. So I think that's more of the reason why they canceled the fight, to be honest with you. But they don't want to say that because they have the perfect excuse now. But I think they were just growing tired of dealing with him.
After Clarissa dropped truth bombs that felt like an audit of Tank's entire life, Daniel Cormier stepped in like the father figure of combat sports, looking at the whole situation and saying, this is what happens when chaos becomes the business plan. He did not hold back either. DC made it clear that everyone knew the Jake versus STH versus Tank experiment was a wild science project held together by Red Bull cans, duct tape, and pure delusion. And honestly, he had a point. The weight difference alone made it look like someone hit create a fighter and maxed out the settings. Jake has been trying to turn every fight into a Netflix movie, while Tank's personal life keeps spinning out of control. The fight did not just collapse, it vanished into thin air like a disappearing message.
But Jake is talking about, guys, Gervonta Davis didn't even know what weight they were fighting at the time. I don't know what happened to Tank. Tank Davis was once one of the brightest shining stars in all of boxing. I don't know what happened to where he's in this situation with Jake Paul, not really knowing what's going on. And it sounds like he's done a lot of stuff to put himself at risk of losing a payday, an exhibition, because that had to only be an exhibition.
But then Jake does what he always does. He hits the eject button, flips midair, and suddenly sets his sights on Francis Ngannou like he just unlocked the final boss in a video game, and DC immediately said, no, stop, reverse, recalculate. Because Francis is not a marketing opponent. Francis is a force of nature. This is not someone you casually call out. This is someone you prepare your will for before stepping into the ring calling. Francis' light work is like saying a volcano is just warm dirt. DC saw this and said, we are not doing this today. That is how documentaries begin. And honestly, he is speaking for all of us. We enjoy the entertainment, we love the storylines, but we also want to see Jake Paul with his head still on his shoulders. Jake might love the confidence and the theatrics, but the storylines need to stay within the bounds of human reality.
You don't want those problems. You don't want those Francis Ngannou problems. I don't care what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou. Jake Paul gets in there with Francis. Francis will knock his head off this planet. You don't want those Francis problems. So then Francis says, choose your words wisely, boy. I agree that you need someone to discipline you for what you did to Mike Tyson, but stay in your lane. Yeah, I know, Big Frank.
And just as DC finished saying, maybe don't poke the heavyweight volcano, Carl Froch walked in like he had been waiting to say, I told you so. shades on, arms crossed, full Cobra mode, basically announcing welcome to Clown World. Frock did not hold back. This matchup was a circus from day one. A fighter at 135 booked against a much bigger opponent that was not matchmaking. It was a science experiment gone wrong. I loved Frock calling it out for what it was. The weight gap was never a quirky talking point, it was the entire problem. And when the Cobra jokes about Jake's clown show, you can feel the sting. Froch's take hits the perfect balance between savage and sensible. The spectacle might sell, but you cannot build a sport on shaky logic and headlines. He is not just trolling, he is demanding accountability. And for those of us watching, it is an entertaining yet sobering reminder that boxing is not a meme generator, it is a dangerous profession.
These allegations against Gervonta Davis, they're very serious allegations. Anybody that's laying hands on women needs to be shut down straight away. They need to be, for me, they need to be locked up and the key thrown away. You shouldn't touch women. They're not there to be touched and have their hands laid on them. I've got 2 daughters. I've got my wife, my mother. Anybody out there who's close relationship to women knows you do not lay your hands on women ever. Don't touch them. And if you do, you should be.
Then Frock flips the script and gets even more direct. He lays out the ethics, saying these are not PR problems, they are real human issues. And Netflix or any promoter should think twice before backing someone facing serious accusations. I agree with him, if there is smoke, you don't sell tickets until the fire is handled. But true to classic Frock swagger, he teases, stepping in himself. Posts gym pics and says, 1 round with 10-ounce gloves and it's game over for the clown show. We laugh, but there is also a business lesson hidden in the joke. Promoters need backups. Fighters need proper vetting, and fans deserve matches that don't feel manufactured. Frock brought both heat and common sense. We get the hot takes, the laughs, and the real talk about responsibility. Would you actually want Frock in there? Or is this one of those headlines best archived and forgotten?
The fight being made to the weight disparity, to Gervonta Davis being a wrong-un in terms of these allegations, the whole thing is just an absolute circus, and this fight really needs to stop. They can't carry on. They might be getting some publicity and some press, and they say there's no such thing as bad press, but this is bad. This needs to not go ahead. Netflix, I can't see them putting their name to it. Boxing shouldn't be involved in it at all. But to be honest, it's got nothing to do with boxing, because it is a clown show exhibition, but the fight should not be happening, and I sincerely hope, for boxing's sake, that it does.
This whole situation was a circus that completely imploded. Legal trouble, bad optics, and won. Massive payday walking out the door. We saw Jake hit eject and pivot to bigger targets. Tim Bradley called out the promo team, Clarissa, and DC reminded everyone that the outside of ring issues actually matter, and Frock walked in with his Cobra shades to point out the obvious. You cannot cover up huge weight gaps and serious allegations and call it sport. The bottom line is the promoters botched the planning. The tank situation blew up the show, and Jake's hustle keeps the headlines spinning. Whether you love it or hate it, share your thoughts. Let's debate who is the worst planner here, MVP or the fighters who did not demand backup plans. Would you want Frock or Crawford stepping in? Or is this one best left alone? Is Jake a clever marketer or just playing with fire? Argue your lane below. Keep it hot, but keep it civil. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters. See you in the next one.